Believe it or not, there are still quite a few games locked away on the Sega Saturn that you can't play anywhere else. Officially, that is. It's rather unfortunate really, because a number of these titles are in the running as some of the better software titles of that entire generation. It's also incredibly impressive the sheer variety in these games. We aren't talking just a slew of a couple of genres here, but a vast treasure trove of goodness that will appeal to a wide spectrum of gamers no matter what they enjoy. There are Sega sports titles like World Series Baseball 2 that are eternally playable with excellent gameplay and graphics. There's also hybrid arcade projects that resulted in releases like Fighters Megamix, which gives you both a serious fighting game with rock-solid mechanics, as well as something a bit more casual. There are excellent RPGs like Shining the Holy Ark with its great characters and an interesting story. There's the lighthearted Clockwork Knight platformers, which were among some of the very first 2.5D games I have ever played. Gun Griffin offered up not just a great looking and playing series of games on Saturn, but also one that had a decent story and some compelling political commentary. I could go on and on with dozens more, but my point is Saturn is home to some fantastic exclusives you may not have played yet. With that in mind, I have chosen the absolute best, organized them in a top 10 format, and have them ready for your viewing pleasure. I want to be clear, this list is only for true exclusives of the Saturn, both during its retail run all the way up to modern day. These games have no reissues or remasters on any other platform. Hope you guys enjoy my top 10 Sega Saturn exclusives. Shinobi's digitized makeover for the Saturn was met with mixed opinions back in the day. Originally released in 1995 as Shin Shinobi-den in Japan, it made its way to North America as Shinobi Legions, and then PAL regions as Shinobi X. While not a huge fan of the heavy focus on your melee weapon, I love the core Shinobi gameplay so much, I still consider this a must-play for fans. It basically continues the evolution of the series while doubling down on all the advancements seen in the 16-bit titles. Blocking, running, double jumps, and kunai are all here for you to go wild dispatching your foes. The respect for the Shinobi 3 mechanics is strong, and I feel most fans of the series will appreciate that. It's not perfect, however. The digitized visuals are a mixed bag. Sometimes they are very nice, and sometimes they come off a bit clumsy and lifeless. The soundtrack, while far from terrible, doesn't have quite the punch it had on the Sega Genesis. Overall, the experience is still incredibly fun and well within expectation. For those interested in some fun trivia that could affect your enjoyment of this, the PAL releases offer up a completely redone soundtrack that differs from the Japanese and American versions. It really does change the feel and atmosphere of things. Plus, as the video title implies, it remains a Saturn exclusive you can't play anywhere else officially. I might get some flack for this one, but I had to have Astal on this list. Many claim the 16-bit gameplay is a turnoff and ultimately lacks the depth and appeal of a 5th generation product. I can't really argue that, because there is no doubt the simple run, jump, and attack mechanics are nothing special. But Astal's appeal goes so far beyond that. It is to this day a stunning showpiece for what Saturn could do with two-dimensional visuals. Huge sprites adorn a playfield that is littered with nice scrolling, scaling, and animation effects. The art is otherworldly, the music makes love to your ears, and the characters are appealing and have a fun backstory. Really, I don't think there is another console at the time that could have done this one with the same effects in place. It really is that impressive visually. If you're a fan of two-dimensional platformers, I really do recommend you give this a go. It won't win anyone over with its originality, but it has that special something that will make the trip worthwhile. Unfortunately, the poor performance in North America meant that Sega had no confidence to give it a chance in Europe, meaning there might be many of you out there that really need to play it. Dark Savior is easily one of the hardest games to recommend to just about anyone. Released in 1996 and developed by Climax Entertainment, it's been described as a multi-genre adventure game. It has elements from fighting games, role-playing games, platformers, and a number of others. And that right there is what makes it so difficult to describe and tell others to play. Once you start talking about the different ways the story can progress, the multiple endings, and how the opening time constraints affect all of that, it can be a bit daunting. But inside that quagmire of genre overload lives a game like no other. It's nearly 5 games in one in the replay value. To see it all unfold is a wild ride that has to be experienced to truly understand. The isometric gameplay will challenge those that don't appreciate it, but you'll adjust and be on your way in no time. Drop in as the bounty hunter Gillian as you try and deliver one of the most dangerous criminals the world has ever known. Of course, things go terribly wrong and you'll be investigating, solving puzzles, and making choices that really affect your progress. Those looking for games that don't fit tried and true molds will appreciate it the most, but I think fans of good games in general will get something from it no matter what they enjoy. Play the opening a few times and adjust to the gameplay, then open up a world full of possibilities. It's without a doubt one of the Saturn's most unique releases. By 1998, the Saturn was in steep decline. Even in Japan, everyone knew a replacement was coming, so great games like Burning Rangers had the deck stacked against it. This was Sonic Team's final title for Saturn, and it was a lofty project that would try and push the console to the breaking point. Here you get loads of transparencies, huge environments, screen-filling light sourcing, and some killer audio with a fully voiced cast. Essentially, you are a futuristic firefighter that has jump jets, shields, and a navigator to get you through the dangers. You'll rescue people, fight crazed robots, extinguish flames, and be judged by a rating system that determines how well you've performed. There's some nasty clipping issues here and there, but the gameplay is so nice, it's easily forgiven. It's short but highly replayable, like many Sonic Team efforts, but it has a random generator mode that really gives you a challenge. It's another one where there really isn't much to compare it to, and that is by far its greatest asset.
Go around to the other side of the plant site. Go up.
Mysteria, The Realms of Lore is a Saturn game that has never gotten the respect it deserves. Released in 1995 and developed by Microcabin, it's a turn-based tactical RPG similar to the Shining Force titles. It's always had an uphill battle thanks to the mediocre visuals. The pre-rendered graphics are dog ugly and its animation is poor. Behind that veneer of disappointment resides incredibly deep strategy and long battles that take advantage of it. It also has some very likable characters to join your calls and a charming story to motivate you the entire way through. The gameplay allows you to learn different powers based on what you use the most. This system allows all sorts of cool powers to be obtained, and some very nice variety between the warriors you choose to take with you. The only real prerequisite I'd recommend is that you enjoy long battles. The ones found here take time and require serious investment, especially as the game gets deeper into its narrative. It was known as Rig Lord Saga in Japan, where it also received a sequel that was never localized in English. Though the name Mysteria was used initially, Sega changed the name to Blazing Heroes to avoid a lawsuit with the Dungeons & Dragons people, so you can find it under that label as well. A late casualty of the Saturn's poor performance was a Resident Evil clone called Deep Fear. It was developed together by System Satcom and Sega and released in 1998. While it did have a PAL release, the US edition was cancelled and never saw the light of day. I remember being quite let down by that because I love the genre. It takes place in an underwater complex that has been invaded by mutated creatures. The mechanics and flow of the gameplay are nearly identical to Capcom's flagship series from there. You explore, collect items, and overcome obstacles while trying to stay alive. A few nice improvements are the ability to move around with your weapon drawn, and an environment where you have more to worry about than just the monsters. I was especially drawn to that because I am rather uncomfortable with the idea of being in extremely deep water, which added a touch of real-life anxiety to the adventure. As usual, the voice acting in these types of games was terrible, but it's gained a sort of retro charm that many of you will appreciate. Fortunately, the unreleased 60Hz US version is out there now, and completely playable start to finish. That's great news because the Saturn remains the only way to play it. There's a few different games out there available from Sega that play like Nintendo's Zelda series, but none of them are as good as The Legend of Oasis. It was developed by Yuzo Koshiro's Ancient Studio and released in 1996. It's technically a prequel to the Genesis hit Beyond Oasis, an action-adventure that has you exploring shrines, collecting spirits, procuring weapons, and using a bevy of items to help your cause. There's secrets, tons of real-time combat, and the musical score is incredible. The hand-drawn visuals are really nice, many of the boss encounters offer impressive effects, and I love the animation. Despite all that, this one tends to get lost among the Saturn's elite titles for some reason, and I know many a dedicated Saturn fan that has never really given it a chance. That may be due to being labeled a clone of a beloved franchise, but don't think for a minute that this is a second-rate knockoff or some kind of quick cash-in. This is a quality product start to finish that captures the fun of the original game while adding some nice 32-bit touches to the presentation. Outside of the United States, it's under the Story of Thor, so you may need to look for it there. Some people look for games that take advantage of the hardware when it comes to exclusives, and Bulk Slash does just that. This is a transforming mecha action game that was released in 1997 and developed by CA Production. You have huge environments to battle in, and you can do it as either a sword-swinging mecha or a missile-toting flying machine of death. You have to be careful regardless because you have enemies everywhere trying to squash your fun. You get a nice variety in stage locations, ground and air foes to chase down, plus numerous ways to take them out. It runs relatively smooth for what's happening on screen, and the music fits the action. I always loved the way this looked. The VDP2 landscape and the polygonal architecture gives the visuals a truly unique look and feel, and had this been on any other console, it probably would look nothing like this. It's the first and only game on the list that remained Japanese exclusive, which made the story difficult to follow if you didn't speak the language. Thankfully, that changed with a fan-made English translation that even added new voices. That pretty much removed any barrier to playing and enjoying this for a great many of you, and it's one of the Saturn's more unique experiences. It easily deserves its spot on this list.
Wow! To the rear! To the rear! Straight ahead! To the left!
When it comes to the best of the best, Shining Force 3 is a Saturn juggernaut. It was developed by Sonic Software Planning and is a turn-based strategy RPG with solid visuals, great music, and some of the best gameplay around. The story takes place with a nefarious plot to cause war to erupt between rival nations. Your job is to find the real enemy behind the conflict. The Western release of this was actually only the first scenario in a 3-episode story that spanned different characters and viewpoints. Parts 2 and 3 were only released in Japan, a bitter pill that Saturn fans had to deal with for years. That was until an eventual fan translation fixed that, and now all 3 episodes are fully playable in English. The presentation is strong enough, but it's the actual battles that make this so much fun. The variety of units in combat, the large amount of attacks to employ, and the different locations really add to the appeal here. You also get a great cast of characters. Losing one in battle is gut-wrenching, and the bad guys drive you to see the ending and exact justice for all their evil deeds. It's as good as anything similar on the PlayStation, and a highlight that deserved a proper sequel on the Dreamcast. We never got that, but this trilogy of absolute peak 32-bit era game design should be on everyone's must-play list. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Finally, Panzer Dragoon Saga makes a top 10 list from Sega Lord X. How's this possible, you may ask? Especially when it's not even in my top 25 favorite Saturn games. In this case, I'm able to remove my own personal wants and expectations and tell you why Saga is such a great experience based on its own merits. Developed by Team Andromeda and released in 1998, it's the third mainline entry into the beloved Panzer Dragoon series. Instead of an on-rail shooter like the previous games, it goes the route of a role-playing game. A huge twist that I personally didn't want to see. But I cannot deny the overall quality of what's offered here. As the main character Edge, you get to explore both on your dragon and on foot. with combat taking place by random encounters where your position makes all the difference. No kidding. Pay special attention to your radar, because if you let your enemies get into a position of advantage, they can do you all sorts of harm, especially those bosses. You can morph your dragon to increase its abilities, and there's a fair amount of items to find and use to assist you in your journey. Like all the Panzer games, the sound and graphics are incredible and among the best on the platform. The developers really knew how to handle the chips in the Saturn, and Saga is no different. Some lament its length because you can beat it in a very short amount of time compared to many RPGs of the day, but I feel it actually helps this game's appeal a lot. It burned bright and made you want to see more, something Sega should have capitalized on with a Dreamcast sequel, but never did. Hardcore action fans will miss the format from the first two games, but RPG veterans will appreciate the unique world, strategic battles, and endearing story. It's the Saturn exclusive everyone props up as the best game on the system. I won't go quite that far, but its quality and playability are undeniable. So there we go, my top 10 exclusives for the Sega Saturn. I always get a kick out of people who find a problem with me saying I preferred the Saturn over the PlayStation. They will typically respond by listing the many games the latter had in comparison. I never really looked at it that way. My love for the games on the Saturn meant that's what I played the most, and that's really all that mattered. The hours I sunk into games like Dragon Force, Shining Force 3, the Capcom Fighters, the myriad of arcade ports, and the slew of awesome Sega-made stuff kept me busy far more than any other console that generation. Among those, a number of them remain exclusive and unported to anything else, which makes the Saturn even more special. If you are a Sega diehard like me, chances are you have played all these games, and in that case, I hope you at least enjoyed the show. For those that have yet to jump on the Saturn train, I hope this list gives you something to think about and the motivation to try some of them out. If you are thinking owning these games is far too expensive these days, it's really important to note that modern Saturn emulation is excellent, and if you prefer real hardware, there are inexpensive devices out there that can allow your Saturn to play pretty much anything your heart desires. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.